Hi everyone, I'm Clayton Stone, Associate Production Director of WoW Classic. Welcome to our Season of Discovery Phase 4 preview. It is time. At long last, we're raising the level cap to 60 and jumping into the endgame. For those of you who have been playing since launch, thank you for going on this journey with us. And to those of you just jumping in, now that the full level up experience is available, you've picked a great time to join us. I also want to give a massive shout out to everyone who has hopped into our first ever Season of Discovery PTR to help us test and tune all of the changes and additions coming to classes. Your feedback has been invaluable in helping us prepare for what's ahead. That said, even though the PTR was focused on classes, we know many of our eagle-eyed players saw hints at the content changes we're making to Endgame, and it's time for us to talk about some of those today. So, let's take a look at what we'll be covering. We'll kick things off with content at 60, then jump into raid information, followed by some important itemization updates, then dive into world event updates as well as some system updates, and more, which you're definitely going to want to stick around for. Alright, so whether you're already familiar with Classic era content, or you're experiencing it for the first time with Season of Discovery, or you just want a refresher, raising the level cap to 60 brings with it a ton of new content and things to do, including access to all WoW Classic zones like the Burning Steppes, Eastern and Western Plaguelands, Silithus, and Winterspring. You'll also be able to finally max out your character talents. In addition, the Aldrich Valley Battleground will also be unlocked. Epic mounts will be available to collect, and more. Also, all of the classic dungeons will now be available, including Scholomance, Stratholme, all three wings of Dire Maul, and Blackrock Spire. And because the bosses have stopped spending their time in Phase 3 socializing in the Grim Guzzler Tavern, the second half of the massive Blackrock Depths dungeon. In addition, there just might be one more dungeon surprise we're not going to talk about today, but we're excited for players to discover. Switching gears to a quick note about runes, since we've had the PTR up for the past few weeks, none of the runes are a complete secret. So we aren't going to be spending a lot of time in this presentation talking about runes or classes. However, we will be posting a rundown of new runes and class adjustments separately from this video, so please check the official World of Warcraft forums for that. Moving on to raids. As we previously announced, the Molten Core raid will be scaled down to 20 players, and will contain adjustments to the boss encounters across the 11 bosses for you to take on. Just gonna leave that there. We are very excited for everyone to hop in and get their hands on the brand new revamped Tier 1 sets that now have multiple variants for different specializations and playstyles that each class has access to. Tier sets aren't the only place we've made improvements, with many non-set items also getting a hefty overhaul as well. Lastly, we are excited to announce that we will be having a scalable difficulty system in Molten Core, allowing players to turn up the heat inside and face ever-growing challenges. Some aspects of this system were visible on the PTR, and we've enjoyed listening to speculation and, most importantly, your comments and feedback around this new difficulty system and the potential reward structure. As we've been listening to this feedback, we've wanted to let you know that raising the heat level will not affect the quality of rewards. The quality will remain consistent as the difficulty goes up. Instead, it will increase the quantity of rewards, making some of the more valuable drops in the raid appear more often. In general, we don't want to heavily gate the best quality gear behind high difficulty content in Season of Discovery, as we really just don't think that's what the season is about. But if you do want to push yourself, you will find additional challenges and perhaps be able to gear up a tiny bit faster. Onyxia's lair has also seen some significant loot overhauls as well. And while Onyxia has misplaced her stockpile of Tier 2 helms, she is going to have plenty of juicy loot for you to chase in its place. We are also taking a new approach for raid size with Onyxia, as she will ultimately be tuned to be completed with 20 players, but the allowable raid size is up to 40 players. We love 40 player raiding, but we think it ultimately works best as a soda and pretzels type of content. In other words, the same level of difficulty you come to expect from Classic. So, if you are forming a pickup group and want to ensure quick success, you can bring 40 players. But if you are running with your guild, 20 players may make more sense to maximize your rewards. World bosses have had an interesting history in World of Warcraft, particularly in early versions of WoW, where they were hotly contested and created flashpoints for, let's say, interesting player interactions. While we love this intense competition in Classic 2019, One drawback to the content is that due to its limited availability, it tended to be content that most players never got to meaningfully interact with. We aim to make it a bit more accessible in Season of Discovery by instancing the content off and handling it similarly to what we just discussed with Onyxia. The raids will be tuned for 20, but can be done with up to 40 players to make it friendly to both organized groups and pickup groups. Related to these changes, and to talk all things loot, I'll turn it over to our lead engineer on Classic, Nora Valletta. Take it away, Nora.
Thanks, Clay. We're excited to share some of the cool new loot you'll find in Phase 4 of Season of Discovery. First, let's check out some of the new dungeon loot you'll find in Phase 4. We've got Iron Foe, which has had its level increased to 58 and now grants 18 attack power when equipped. Next, we've got Idol of Exsanguination, which causes your Lacerate ticks to energize you for 5 rage. Totem of the Plains reduces the cast time of your Healing Rain spell by 100%. Taking inspiration from players using the 3-piece set in Sunken Temple for Shamans, we thought it might feel bad to completely lose that set bonus as an option. Having it be a totem you can swap on and off for fights made a lot of sense here. Burst of Knowledge has had its item level increased to 58, its spell power increased, and its active cooldown reduced from 15 minutes down to 5 minutes. Finally, we've got Libram of Holy Alacrity, which causes Holy Shock to reduce the cast time of your next 2 Holy Lights by 0.2 seconds. Our classic Tier 0 dungeon and Tier 0.5 dungeon upgrade sets have seen a full overhaul as well. In original WoW, a basic dungeon set of 8 items dropped in max level dungeons, and an epic quest chain was introduced in later patches to upgrade those items into a higher quality version of that set. In Season of Discovery, this is still true, but the upgrade quest chain will be available right at the launch of Phase 4, and each class is now able to choose between multiple dungeon upgrade set items that accommodate multiple class specializations as they move through the quest chain. While you will have to choose which variation of each set you want during the quest line, the other variants will be obtainable via gold and other means once the quest chain is complete, so you will have access to every set for your class if you want to try them all. These sets were testable on the PTR, and we've had a blast watching people get excited about both the new stats and appearances of these sets as well. But what about raid loot? Here's a quick look at a few of the items from Molten Core. First up, we've got an awesome looking Elemental Shaman shield called Earth and Fire. Looks similar to the rank 14 PvP shield, but with a distinct new color variation. We've got Magmadar's right and left claw, which allow you to summon core hounds to aid you in combat. The 3 set bonus actually allows you to transform into Magmadar for a brief period of time. But how about Faithbringer, a 2-handed paladin weapon for healing? Or Key to the City, a caster staff from Onyxia. Finally, Obsidian Edgeblade, which has been changed from a +8 to 2-handed swords to a +3. We've added 1% crit with those stats and made it just a tad slower. Our dungeon sets won't be the only color variations you'll see in Phase 4. Here are some of the cool Tier 1 color variations we've got coming soon. Next, why don't we spend a few minutes talking about world events? The Blood Moon is not seeing any major adjustments for Phase 4 and will not be a vector for new items or player power, but it will continue to happen on its normal timer. We wanted to mention this because we are nearing level 60, which means that players will soon have access to the highest level PvP rewards, and many players will be ranking up to get them. In order to help with the honor gain process, we're introducing a new Blood Moon currency in Phase 4. When the new currency is introduced, Bloodstained Commendations will have had their cost reduced from 1 silver coin to 25 copper coins. We envision Blood Moon carrying on as an evergreen supplement to the normal PvP honor ranking process. If you'd like to interrupt your BG queues for a bit of quick, chaotic world PvP, my favorite, you and your group can venture into Stranglethorn Vale during the Blood Moon and supplement your honor farm. Next, we're making some significant adjustments to Nightmare Incursions, shifting the mission quests over to a simpler daily quest format. We really love the overall theming of Nightmare Incursions, but think these adjustments will help make them feel like an optional supplement to normal leveling, rather than the be-all, end-all leveling activity for all new characters. As a result of this format change, we are also planning to tone down the difficulty of some of the creatures within Nightmare Incursions to make these quests a bit more solo-friendly. The experience gained from these activities will cap out at level 53 as well, but the quests will remain available through level 60, should you desire to earn a reputation. Overall, we learned a lot of great lessons for Nightmare Incursions, which we plan on carrying forward for any potential future events. And speaking of future events, for Phase 4's outdoor event, we've taken a few of the lessons learned from previous events and are applying them to a new, more lightweight outdoor event, the Black Rock Eruption. This event will occur every 2 hours and see additional spawns, daily quest content, opportunities for reputation gain, and increased honor rewards from World PvP. Outside of Blackrock Mountain, the forces of the Fire Lord are wreaking havoc. Join the Thorium Brotherhood in repelling these attacks with new daily quests to help grow your reputation with the Thorium Brotherhood and earn quicker access to powerful crafting recipes and other rewards. Inside the mountain, you'll find your blood is running extra hot, causing you to gain bonus honor only within the mountain itself. As for reputation, we are adding brand new upgraded versions of the existing crafted rewards from Thorium Brotherhood, Argent Dawn, Timbermaw Hold, and Hydraxian Waterlords. We've also got some really cool for fun items that allow you to teleport to Ajara, lay a fire resist area of effect that your allies can stand in, or turn you into a water elemental. You'll be able to place these for fun items on your keyring, saving you some valuable bag space. Anyways, I've got some rep to farm, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass things off to our senior producer, Josh Greenfield, who'll be happy to share some of our upcoming systems updates.
Thanks, Nora. Going into Phase 4, we've made a few significant system updates we're excited to share. First up, we took a lot of the lessons we've learned from the Wild Offerings currency and have expanded on that system with a new deterministic currency we're calling Tarnished Undermine Reals. You can start earning these coins from most non-rare spawn dungeon bosses over level 55, and each boss will drop a single currency for each player in the group once per day per boss. This currency can be used to purchase a variety of things, such as rare crafting recipes, crafting materials, powerful gear, as well as a variety of other valuable items. We've gotten a lot of feedback from players asking for ways to keep dungeon content relevant longer, and this is one way we're looking at keeping dungeon runs feeling rewarding at level 60. We're also particularly excited about a brand new feature to World of Warcraft Classic, a twice-weekly raid lockout system. One bit of feedback we got early on was that 3-day lockouts on raids was difficult for guild leaders to manage due to the inconsistency of when reset days occurred. In Sunken Temple, we moved the lockout to weekly to add a bit more stability, but we always wanted to revisit this to see if there was a way for us to provide the increased cadence and content availability that the 3-day lockout provided, but with a bit more stability and predictability to help with better raid planning. The twice-weekly lockout accomplishes this by having raids using this lockout interval reset twice a week on static reset days. For example, in North America, twice-weekly raids will reset on Tuesday and Saturday mornings. We plan to use this lockout interval for all of the raids in Phase 4. We feel that with the pace of Season of Discovery, this is a great step forward to allow you to raid more if you choose to. At this point, we're approaching the home stretch, but we do have a few more updates to share before we close things out. With Phase 4 and the increase to level 60, players will begin having access to max level world buff effects. In Season of Discovery, we're also planning to add an alliance equivalent to Warchief's Blessing, the Might of Stormwind. As fun as it was to skulk around the crossroads on our alliance characters, hoping for a kindly priest to mind control us for a chance at Warchief's Blessing, this should make getting your world buffs a bit less cumbersome for Alliance players. As with previous phases, Discoverer's Delight will continue to function from 50 to 59, providing a 50% experience boost in that level range. We've learned a lot of great lessons about leveling, and while we want you to level a little bit faster, there's a lot of content in the 50 to 60 range, and we don't want to totally trivialize the journey in Phase 4, so having a more nominal buff from 50 to 59 makes sense. Characters from 1 through 49 will still enjoy 150% experience increase as well, so it should be super easy to get those alts caught up. Like previous level up raids, Sunken Temple will give a generous amount of XP, so running that while you're leveling could give you a good bump as well. In Phase 4, we plan to allow blacksmiths and leatherworkers to swap their profession specs for a nominal cost. This will not quite be ready for the launch of Phase 4, but we do plan to introduce it a short time later. Perhaps most excitingly, we've done major overhauls to many iconic in-game crafting recipes, with dozens of recipes replaced or given a method to upgrade into even better versions of their original crafted items. First up, we've got the refined Hammer of the Titans, a two-handed mace with 2.0 speed that has a very hefty amount of feral attack power. It also retains its classic 3-second stun proc, which will now proc in druid forms. And who could forget the iconic Arcanite Reaper, newly upgraded and refined into a 4.0 speed powerhouse with improved stats and a very fancy new classicified glow. These are just two examples out of many iconic crafting recipes to receive major glow ups in Phase 4, so get out there and get crafting. Looking to the raid release schedule, in a departure from previous phases, we've decided to space out the unlock of raid content following launch. Azergos and Kazakh will go live 1 week after launch, with Molten Core and Onyxia the week after that. Phase 4 is going to have a ton of compelling things to do right at 60, with a lot of new and improved loot to chase. We think that this pre-raid gearing phase is one of the best parts about hitting level 60 on a fresh character, and giving that pre-raid best-in-slot process a bit of time to breathe and giving you some worthwhile goals to accomplish ahead of the raids becoming available is very exciting. Should provide you with a lot of great, satisfying gear progression leading up to those raids becoming available. With that, we are done with today's presentation. We appreciate your patience as we're working diligently to get Phase 4 into your hands. We really appreciate all of the participation in our recent PTR releases, and we continue to consume your feedback as we're finishing things up for Phase 4. As always, the WoW Classic development team is incredibly grateful for your support. Thank you for playing with us, and thank you for your feedback and participating and helping us develop this season. We'll see you again when Season of Discovery Phase 4 goes live on July 11th, 2024. Thank you and goodbye.